Hey guys, welcome to my channel and welcome back if you already subscribed. I really hope you like this, and if you do, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And with that, let's get on to the video. He was at the tender age of 5 when he first met her, though he was never a tender being even from birth. He was born to the village of dragon lords and their dragon bonds. Even from an early age, Bakugou Katsuki had recklessly strayed farther from his home than he should have. It was at the edge of his village, and the next, where he saw her across the creek, a small girl, no elder than him, innocently making boats out of the leaves that had scattered around her. Being the prideful little landcub that he saw himself to be, he eagerly stepped out onto his side of the creek. The small girl glanced up at him, seeing a stranger-eyed boy with barely enough covering on, looking so brightly at her from across the water. "Be thrilled that a great dragon lord is in your presence," he called out, puffing his chest up high, like the older men of his village did around women. The small girl seized their actions, placing the half-finished boat down, and stood up, taking a hard look at Bakugou. She shook her head and then pointed at him. "If you're a dragon lord, then where's your dragon?" His chest fell, and the boy pointed to the small reptile wrapped tightly around his neck and shoulders. His dragon had hatched from its egg only a few months back, and was always sleeping. His mother had tried to tell him it was because baby dragons required a lot of rest for them to grow and learn magic, but he just assumed his dragon was lazy. "Right here. Lord Explosion is my dragon." "It's pretty small for a dragon. Are you sure it's just not some lizard you found?" "He's fucking real." The small girl gasped, making Bakugou raise a brow. She blinked in surprise, and he helped out in annoyance. What was her issue now? "What? Are you allowed to say that word?" "I can do and say whatever I want." Once again, his exaggerated truth was not fooling her. So, being the smart aleck child she was, went and decided to test his words. Then, swam across the river. He paled at such a thought. He hated bath time back home enough already. But this river, it could really carry him off, and Lord Explosion wasn't big enough for him to fly and save him. He glared and spat at her. "That's stupid." She giggled and sat back down, ignoring the boy as he watched her for a moment. She quickly removed something from her bag, and then a flat piece of wood from a broken tree. She tied the string and threw it to Bakugou on the other side. He caught it and looked as she placed something on the board and then into the water. She signaled for him to pull, and he did just that. The little boat came to him, and he hesitantly took the object off. Unwrapping the thin paper, he shockingly glanced back up at the girl. She laughed and picked up her large bag and waved to him. "Since you wouldn't come to me, I figured this might be better. I'll see you around, Lizard Lord." Before Bakugou could call her out for her poor choice of name for him, or where she exactly got an entire loaf of bread, she was gone, heading back to wherever she came from, and leaving him alone in his side of the world. Since that day, he would routinely end up back at the river bank, seeing the same girl there nearly every time. As he lost his baby cheeks, and his stature grew into that of a young man, she too changed, and started getting more mature and taller. He never outgrew the name Lizard Lord, despite the fact that Lord Explosion was nearly a full-sized dragon now, and took up an entire field near the creek. She would always bring bread. Sweet, sour, rye, wheat. She always had some. He learned that she was the daughter of a baker, and that one day she would take over the shop. Bakugou had laughed, not understanding how a girl her age would have such ambitions. "Doesn't your village marry you off or some shit?" You frowned, hand held on your hips. Excuse me, but my father is very progressive. He would much rather have me train and take over the bakery than taking on some shitty future husband. Like you could get a husband, Bretthead. And you could do better? Yeah, I fucking could. Tons of girls in my village want me. Oh yeah? Then why do you always show up here then, if you have already enough options for a wife? He bit his tongue, looking away and getting up. He pets his bonded dragon's head, large being cracking open an orange eye. Bakugou stroked its head before climbing on. So you're just leaving then? No fighting words? You asked him, too prideful to admit you didn't mean to hurt him in any way. It's 'cause I'm not interested in any of the girls from my village, dumbass. There's someone else. There is? Yeah, but we can never be together. You swallowed a lump in your throat, having an idea of who he was talking about, but not about the why. Your eyes dashed away from him, and you pushed your fists together, trying to steady your heart. And why is that? Because Dragon Lords are below, only allowed to marry other Dragon Lords. Oh, refusing to meet his gaze as you pushed your hands together. Why were you so upset? He and you had only ever been this close. Literally. He had never crossed that river, and you had never again invited him to. Maybe that was his way of keeping his distance, for a romance he knew would never be. A strong and rare Dragon Lord, falling in love and marrying a baker's daughter. How foolish was your thinking? We shouldn't meet up anymore then, you forced out of your mouth. What? If I had known you would have gotten in trouble, I would have stopped this long ago. And if you continue, you'll both just get hurt even farther. Yeah, you're right. It was stupid to think you were anything more than a village peasant. And you're a carnivorous, bloodthirsty dragon tamer. It was silent for a few minutes, and you weren't sure of what would happen next, but you promised yourself not to look up. The moment you did would be the moment you could no longer hold back the feelings you had developed since childhood. One more look at the unruly blonde hair, or those glimmering scarlet eyes, would make you beg him to challenge the rules of your villages. And to do that would be selfish. To try and fight it would be foolish. And so when the sound of wings flapping in the breeze happening was the next thing to occur, you knew you would never see him again. The Dragon Lord stopped coming to the river, and the baker's daughter eventually stopped leaving the village. Without him there, what was the point of adventuring outside the small world she knew? You worked hard for many months, baking, cleaning, taking care of your family, and also denying any and all suitors of your hand. You had long given your heart to another, while taking it to the skies with him, and you were fine if he never returned it. It was his to keep in the first place. It had been nearly a year since you had last seen him, and you were finally starting to love normally, or at least project like it. The shop was thriving, and you were working hard. Your parents had passed away due to plague earlier that year, and even though it was hard, you had survived, and intended to keep their home and business thriving through you. You'd use the recipes and make them proud. But sometimes, no matter how hard you try, things just don't work out. It was the sound of screaming and breaking glass that woke you up, the terror settling in fast, when the lights and growing heat made you realize what exactly was happening. You tore yourself from the bed and charged downstairs. You thank God that your work had made you too exhausted to change out of your day clothes. Your fingers snagged your old sack, pulling it with as many items as you could carry. You had your small sum of money, a bit of food, and the recipe books. Despite the glow of oranges and yellows from the bakery, you charged in. The fire bounced off your scat first, but as you got closer in, it started to hold on to your clean skin. The pain meant nothing though. If you lost these books, you truly would be alone. Finding and shoving them into your sack, you took off down the street and away from your home. A house could be rebuilt, but getting attacked by whoever started the village would often bring death. And as a woman, they would be coming for you. Not wanting to be entirely defenseless though, you quickly tied up your hair and shoved it into a cap, leaving the illusion of a boy. It would only fool for a second, but it would be enough to hopefully reach the woods. You ran past homes you knew the owners of. You ran past shops you frequented. You ran past your childhood, and out into the dark uncertainty of the forest. You collapsed by the river, hand planting down and resting on the rough grass. You remained quiet, only listening to the figure grunt and wave from the river to the shore. It only got louder as the seconds passed by, and you feared for your life. One of those villagers had found your safe spot, and now you were going to meet the same fate as your village, but not without a fight. You had never been trained, nor had you even held it before, but it was your father's prized possession, so you might as well put it to good use. You unsheathed the knife. The noise faint, but enough for the villain to stop. You waited for him to move, but when he instead used the fire spell to engulf his hand, you could only drop the knife, hand rising to your mouth in disbelief. Katsuki? There he was, dripping wet, and one hand engulfed in magic flames. He widened his eyes, blinking back too many emotions for you to catch. He ran forward, not allowing a single drop of air to remain in your lungs, as he engulfed you in a bone-breaking hug. Thank God. You touched the fluff around his cape, inhaling a scent. Never before had the two of you been this close. Never before had you been able to accurately describe more than this Dragon Lord's looks. What are you doing here? What the hell do you think? I saw the fire from my village. You came to find me? Now calm and able to rationalize, you allowed your eyes to leave him and trail down his body. Around his waist was a large tote bag, several weapons tied on, and a rolled up blanket on the top. Behind you, you heard the sounds of a large mass land. He must have flown off the moment he heard, and then jumped off when he saw the river. What a reckless boy. Why do you have a bag? He blushed, scoffing and looking away. Not like I could take you back with me, so I thought we could run away together. Run away? You giggled, feeling relief for the first time in a year. And what are you gonna do? I found work at some guild. And you can work there as a cook. I mean, when a little Dragon Lord lands, everyone will be throwing jobs at me. And meanwhile, you can keep that village damn well fed and bring in a ton of money. You sure seem positive about this, 'cause I've been looking into it. Met an adventuring party a couple months back that offered me a place if I ever decided to leave. But I told myself that if I left, they'd be coming too. What about your village? Screw the village. They have way too many rules. If I want to marry someone, then I'm gonna marry them. Who laughed again and held his hand. Bakugou pulled you up and pointed to Lord Explosion behind you. He squeezed his hand once, letting him know your feelings from a year ago were still intact. Well, are you coming with me? This place has gone to shit since the last time I was here. He joked, trying to lighten a tense mood. As long as I have you with me again, I'll go anywhere. He smirked, pulling you up into his dragon, and whistling for the creature to take off and soar through the heavens. Then, what the hell are we waiting for?
Thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. I hope you enjoyed listening to this as much as I did making it. Anyway, goodbye.